Greetings and welcome for your Monday edition of Runescape Weekly. Yes, your Monday edition of Runescape Weekly. We missed out on a Friday episode of Runescape Weekly, and frankly, for the best. We got some crazy news not short after on Friday in regards to expansions. So we will be discussing that very shortly here, and in fact, it's probably going to be the main topic for the podcast today. And of course, I've dubbed this Jagex and the missing case of the expansion. So we'll talk about exactly what went down there in a second. Let me unmute myself on Discord here. Bam! How's Discord doing? We got Dxthelb hanging out there. Hey, Dx. Good to hear from you. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I mentioned during the pre-show that I actually injured my foot last Tuesday, but that's just personal life kind of deal.
Yeah, it happens. Sorry to hear that, though.
Thank you. As far as RuneScape goes, I continued on with my boss fight series. I went after the Queen Black Dragon. You can see that on my YouTube channel.
Very nice.
Dxthelb is my YouTube channel, just for reference.
Very nice.
Yes,
nice.
I did the research this time around. So,
so you were prepared for the fight this time around.
I actually did it twice because the first time, you know how my standard interface, it actually covered the Queen Black Dragon's health bar, because that can't be moved. That can't be moved. So I had to create a couple more new expert skins for my PVMing, and you'll see the new one on my Queen Black Dragon video.
Very nice, very nice. I am excited to watch those yet. I haven't had a chance. But it's always nice to see veterans, players who previously didn't want to get into combat, or maybe haven't been into combat in some time, maybe due to EOC or something, just start, getting their feet wet. That's awesome. Like, I recently had to do that probably about a year ago. I started doing that with, like, the God Wars Dungeon 2 and 1 and whatnot, and God Wars Dungeon 1 is a great place to start, a great place to build your confidence. So I'm happy to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's also good that I took on a boss that wasn't at the God Wars Dungeon.
Yeah, which one? Oh yeah, the Queen Black Dragon.
Queen Black Dragon.
That's true. That's true. I consider the Queen Black Dragon one step above God Wars, so that's yeah. You're definitely making progress. That's awesome, man. Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I've got no idea what I'm gonna do next, to be honest.
Morning, Jacob. Yeah, I would recommend too. God Wars Dungeon 2. They're not hard. Like, start with probably Vindictus, the easiest in my personal opinion. Or the people say the Twin Furies are the easiest, and they are, but they have mechanics that are a little more in-depth, in my opinion, than something like Vindicta, that's mechanics are pretty straightforward. Just don't stand in the purple, and that's basically the very, very basic mechanic beyond, like, using resonance and stuff like that to avoid damage, but that's more advanced. Either way, once you step up from the QBD, it's basically time to put your big boy pants on when it comes to bossing. QBD is a little bit tough, but it really starts to, I think, really get more tough when you start to go beyond her. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing those videos for sure. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you very much.
Nice to know, Jester. I haven't seen Jester in a while. It's good to see you in the audience, Jester. And yeah, anytime. Feel free to stop by the chat as well. Let us know if you're coming back into RuneScape or something and you want to be on a show. You're always welcome to stop by. Anyway, we also have David joining us today to talk about the Magister changes and all that fun stuff. How you doing, David? Are you in a position where you're able to talk now?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound pretty good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, at least for me, it sounded good. Yeah. By the way, DX, I thought your new skins that you used for XP, they look really good. I liked them.
Yeah.
I like the.
Go ahead.
What is the RuneScape minimap with just DX?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That was the only place I could think that it could actually work, and it really worked brilliantly. It worked better than I could have ever hoped for.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've sent me a couple of those too. Those are pretty sweet, and I think that I love the idea of, like, the circular mini map. It's perfect for, like, someone's, like, face or something. That's pretty great. It works even better with old school RuneScape, in my opinion. But hey, you can make it work with anything. That's pretty cool. David's audio's not very loud. I can boost him up, no problem. Hang on, let me bring him up.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Let me work with it. It's easier.
Okay, cool.
Let me know if that's any better. We also have Hannah. Welcome, Hannah. I know we started without you. Apologize. Just I got the itch to start, and I was like, I gotta take it. Otherwise, there may not be a show. I have to roll with my emotions here. Good morning. Good morning. It's good to have you. Thank you for coming out for like the third scheduling of this show. I appreciate that. For people who don't know behind the scenes, this show has been scheduled on like Friday, then it was scheduled again yesterday, and here we are recording it today, and that's all my fault, like 100%. So I apologize for that, but
Yeah,
here
the
we
rest
are.
of us don't have the bandwidth like you do.
Hellware's not too bad, says Jacob. Once you get the rotation down, you can camp quite a while. I agree. After actually going to Hellware with some people who knew what they were doing, I have lost my fear of Hellware. The combat mechanics in that fight are actually not that bad if you know which abilities to trigger. Got 120 Mining and 120 Slayer this weekend, so stoked to finish the Slayer Codex. That's awesome, Underking.
Congratulations,
That is
King.
quite an accomplishment. The 120 Slayer, I mean, really blows my mind. 120 Mining is pretty sweet too, right there with you. Love gathering skills. So before we jump into the show today, I want to give Hannah a chance to say hello and talk about what's been going on with her. So Hannah, please take the floor.
I don't know. I don't know what else I have to say. Busy.
See you later. That's cool.
Just been doing family stuff a lot.
Yeah, you've been gone the past like week, haven't you?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we're all back, we're all here, and we're going to talk about some exciting news. Definitely some news that really shook things up, so we're going to get to that pretty much at the beginning of the show here. I think we're pretty much ready to run through the intro. Let's see here. So today is the 10th. Yada. Everything else looks fine. Okay, cool. I will quickly run through the intro to the show then, and we can then do the show like a normal people. Because that's what we are. Just normal people. Nothing weird going on here. Epidemic Sound, where are you, folder? Thank you. Okay. Need some show music. And I need VLC player to be open. Otherwise, the music will just immediately play. Okay. Good. Okay, sound quality levels look good. Okay, so we're about ready now, and we can start in 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Runescape Weekly for 7/10/2017. I'm your host Magebit with over 16 years of RuneScape experience. Joining me today is Dxthelb, Hannah, and David. And on today's show, you know, the fact that this is called Video Start to the Show kind of threw me off. Not gonna lie. We're gonna do that again. Give me a second.
On today's show, video to start the show.
Yeah, I thought I renamed everything to work, but I didn't. So this is basically just unfinished business part 1, and we'll just call this part 2. Yeah, I'm a silly person.
They wrote it down luckily and put it in a news post.
Thank you for believing in me, Matt, and me, Chester. All right. Let's try this again. 3, 2. I haven't effed up on a show intro in a while. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to RuneScape Weekly for 7/10/2017. I'm your host Magebit with over 16 years of RuneScape experience. Joining me today is Hannah, Dxthelb, and David. And on today's show, Unfinished Business, comments on Unfinished Business, unpopular facts about the Magister, drop rates, knowing is half the battle, the weather system, and thank you, Jagex. Thank you for tuning into this edition of RuneScape Weekly, and enjoy the show. Welcome back for your Monday edition of RuneScape Weekly, which would be your Friday edition of RuneScape Weekly, but it's a Monday, so it's your Monday edition of RuneScape Weekly. Welcome! And we have an interesting show for you today. We got some kind of interesting news. I use the word interesting a lot when I don't know what to say. When something is ambiguous to me, either it's like, it's neither positive nor negative, it's just interesting. It is a neutral. I don't 100% know how to take this news, so we're going to jump into it very shortly here after some very brief introductions. Again, we have DX joining us. How you doing, DX?
Well, I'm in recovery, but I'm doing alright as far as my escaping goes.
Right.
Just took on the Queen Black Dragon.
DX, a few weeks clean. Good job. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Hannah, how you doing?
I am doing good. Excited to get the show going.
Indeed. I will raise your volume a little bit because my music is killing you there. And we have David as well. How you doing, David?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. I mostly done Magister recently, which has been interesting. So
There's that word again. Interesting. I'm excited to hear about it. So we got that coming up for you very shortly as well. Before we do, though, we have a few PSAs for DX to read for us here. So DX, if you'd like, please take it away with the PSAs.
Okay, the minigame Spotlight is currently on Soul Wars. The Circus is currently located at Draynor. July's free Solomon General Store item is Armchair Warrior, and there was something that came in 4 days ago by Mod Ollie, if I may read it out here, because I've actually got it on me right now.
Go for it.
This was posted by Mod Ollie on the, it was on the 6th of July. Hey guys, got some news to share with you today. I'm going to be moving teams to work on a new project, which I'm incredibly excited about. That means while I'll still be a Jagex, I'll no longer be a part of the Runescape team. I spent longer working on Runescape than I have done on anything else in my life. So I hope I've left you with some lasting memories. I have every faith the team will keep forging great content in my absence. Thanks for everything. It's sad I'm leaving. It's sad to be leaving, but it's been one hell of a ride.
So there's a long-term developer, probably player as well, gone from the team. I wonder what their plans are.
It's interesting though, because he's still working at Jagex, but he's not working on the Runescape team. What do you suppose he's doing now?
It's the undisclosed MMO. I mean, that's the only thing it probably can be, right? They're probably taking some talent from, senior talent from the Jagex team and shifting it to another Jagex team. And that makes me happy to hear that they're promoting or even just hiring from within, even if it's not technically a promotion, but maybe a lateral movement. Who knows? But that makes me happy to hear, because that tells me that they're fostering good talent that they want to keep, and that talent wants to stay there. Those are two signs of a pretty healthy company, which is ironic. Despite our first, and major subject for the show here,
it's a great segue, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Let me talk about how healthy RuneScape is, and by doing that, let me immediately play a video for you here. This video is 5 minutes and 27 seconds long, so it's short enough that I feel like it is appropriate to play on the show. So let me just quickly grab a screen region here. We'll play the video, and then we can respond to the video. So stand by.
Glad to see Ollie go. He was the prime developer on some of the best bosses to come out the last few years. So that's
Ollie was a big PVM person, right?
Yeah, he was kind of one of the 2 or 3 biggest ones since Chris L left. So it's sad to see people who, it's like I've personally played their content for a really long time and hundreds of hours. It's sad to see them go. It is really sad. I mean, and anything where they've been around for so long and they've had such a deep kind of reach into the game, it definitely will be sad to see them go, especially when they've created good content, and that they've created good content. The one thing I can say about it is at least they're staying on as Jagex staff, so we know that, whatever they're working on, whatever Jagex releases, it will have his touch on it, so it can't be all bad, right?
RuneScape Remastered.
Anyway, let's play this video real quick here.
Hello and good afternoon, Scapers. First of all, I'd like to apologise for going a bit quiet in the past month. We've had plenty to say about Menethos, achievements and a few other updates. And it might have seemed like we were tucking our heads in the sand or maybe even popping off to the pub. In reality, we've been deep in discussion as a team. We've been so focused on Menethos and the determination to get it ready that we've neglected the wider game. So we've been making a big change or two. A note that we have a habit of announcing that we're going to make changes. And this time we wanted to talk to you about the changes we've already made. Expect us to go into more detail on Tuesday's live stream, as well as regular video and news post updates like this one. So let's put a date in the calendar. Friday 28th of July seems like a good time to check back in on what we're doing with another post. Okay, first of all, I'd like to talk about expansions. While many of you have liked, even loved Menethos, it's fair to say that it's had its problems. Regardless of whether you felt it was complete, we underestimated how much of our focus it'd take up. We've neglected other updates as a result, and the release schedule has felt a wee bit empty either side of Menethos, and it's clear that regular updates is something that makes RuneScape RuneScape. The game just feels less alive without them. So, for this reason, we're suspending development on all future expansions. We might release expansion-sized updates like Elf City in the future, but we won't be committing to a sequence of them, and there will be no additional expansion this year. Now, I know that might sound dramatic, but hear us out and find out why we really do think that this is for the benefit of RuneScape. And that starts with the ninjas. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't like a ninja fix, that particular fix you've been waiting for. It can often have a greater impact than a conventional update. But colossal projects like the bank rework have really been blocking the team from strengthening weeks with essential quality of life improvements, and that's a real shame. We missed those updates. So 3 weeks ago, we made the decision to double the number of developers and testers on the Ninja team. Thanks to those additional developers and testers, we'll be releasing Ninja fixes like the following throughout July. We've got quick prayer resets to allow you to define a bunch of different prayers and curses to be turned on via one action. There's an aura bag to manage and unlock loyalty auras. Barrows, Shadow Third Age, and Blood Dice being added to Telos weaponry. And that's just a taste of the updates you can expect regularly. We've got many, many more for August. And don't worry, the bank rework is still very much a thing. We're determined to keep the quality of these fixes high, and we've got a plan for how we might do that, and that plan is polls. We know that we've tried polls before, but while they're flawed, they work. It just feels right to be involved, and as such, polls are coming back in a big way. The plan is that we poll as many of our updates, fixes, or improvements as we can. And okay, now for the big one. For the foreseeable future, the Eternals and Titans will be delivering the updates that have been promised in the past. They'll be finishing updates that feel unfinished and improving the core of the game. So think area reworks rather than new areas, continuations of old questlines rather than new ones. Simply put, we want to pause for a moment and resolve the unfinished business in RuneScape. A good example is achievements. Let's not assume we've done it or finished with it. We want to fix it, complete it, and make it something that benefits the game for years. So we're planning to bring in interface improvements based on your suggestions, including more achievements on screen at one time and a player inspect feature. And Invention Batch 2 is another strong example. You know it's coming, but we're expanding its remit so it not only adds to Invention, but fixes it too. So while you can expect devices, machines, and benefits beyond level 10 for your gear, you can also expect fixes. These will include the removal of inspiration, making augmenters tradable, and a clearer idea of which perks will come from which components. But we now reach a bit of a quandary. In an ideal world, we'd show you a list of all of these updates, complete with their release dates, but that would only create more expectation and add to unfinished business rather than deduct from it. So instead, we'd like to list 10 updates that we're actively working on or researching. No dates attached, just reassurance that we're looking at those right now, and they'll be released only when they're ready and right for the game. So we have bank rework, mining and smithing, clue scroll overhaul, daily scape reductions, Invention Batch 2, achievement system finishing, Evil Dave quests, graphical reworks, combat pets, and Shattered World improvements to make it more rewarding and varied. We're going to be giving you progress reports on all of these, and expect the first on the 28th of July and regularly thereafter. We also want to get you involved in their priority and whether other updates should be replacing them on the list. With that in mind, it's time to mention the big RuneScape survey. On Tuesday, 11th of July, at the same time as an Unfinished Business live stream, we'll be launching the big RuneScape survey. This will be an open, online survey that lists everything we consider good for the game and previously promised, announced, or unfinished. We'll then ask you to prioritise them. So is a bunch of graphical reworks more important than a construction rework? Tell us, and we'll use the results to prioritise the unfinished business stuff that you want and build a backlog of updates to work on. Okay, I've kind of talked enough for now, and we can catch up again on the 28th of July anyway. But do remember to tune into the live stream on the 11th of July when we'll be answering your big questions and revealing the big RuneScape survey. But on a personal note, I know that these changes seem radical and probably rapid, but I'm convinced, having spent so much time reading your feedback recently, that it's the right direction to go in. Now it's your turn to tell us whether or not you agree. I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for being so committed and passionate. We really are lucky to have you.
Oh. We really are lucky to have you. I do like the way they end that. Like they truly feel like some remorse, or at least Maud Osborne's good at feeling like that, looking like that.
They could have ended it like The Sopranos, you know, where it cuts to black in mid-sentence.
Just cut it. So I have mixed feelings about this. Like initially, I was like, okay, this is a good thing for the health of the game. It sounds like they're going all in on ninja fixes, which is not a bad thing for the quality of the game. But the first thing that stuck out in my mind was the fact that they carded out Maud Osborne for the I'm sorry video. I feel like that is something that is become almost kind of like a trope with Jagex, is like anytime there's a colossal failure, it's like, here comes Maud Osborne to be like, I'm sorry. And go ahead, David.
Totally classic at this point. It's so expected.
It is. It's to the point where we can joke about it, and then 2 days later it happens. So,
yep. Yeah, I remember saying explicitly, just wait for when they card out Maud Osborne for an apology, and then about a day later, here it is.
Yeah, I was like, it's like clockwork these days. You can just kind of predict what's going to happen. But I do think that they made the right decision. He has those puppy eyes, Sarah says. Yeah, it's true.
So right,
he's got
Sarah,
that dad face that you just can't be mad at. And he's really good at basically being like, yeah, you're all fucked. Remember when you paid us like hundreds of dollars and put all of your hard work into like, and you were so excited for all these futures. Yeah, fuck it all. That's so game design, though. Like, that's so common in game design that you cannot be like, this is a personal attack from Jagex to myself. It's like, in game design, ideas and projects get scrapped all the time. All the time. Like, this is not... Yeah, go ahead.
It's really weird for me, because on one level, I don't like this, but on another level, they're switching to everything I said they should be doing. I've been saying they should be doing for months now. Years.
They're switching to things that need to be done, and I hate the fact that there aren't going to be any more major updates this year. I hate it, but I also like the fact that they're going to work on quality.
There are going to be major updates, just not expansion.
That's true. It's
basically going back to what they used to do, which
they basically basically reverting the system to, we're going to release content when it's done. And that's about it. There's not going to be like three major. And that was just, I think, a really, really big, kind of hurdle in the first place to set for themselves, to say that we're going to release basically 3 extra large updates a year and then put them within 3 months of each other. I mean, that just seems like a bad idea to me. No.
Yeah. In my opinion, I feel as if as they became overwhelmed with the sheer scope of Menaforce, and they were freaking out about, if they're going to do another expansion, what exactly do we have to do? That includes like area reworks and stuff like that, which is what they did with the Menaforce area. They graphically reworked the entire desert. They reworked Polovnik.
The whole desert. The whole desert.
The whole damn thing, because it's a lot bigger than they anticipated.
So, I mean, pretty much we can still supposedly expect bank rework, mining and smithing, clue scroll overhaul, daily scape reductions, invention batch 2, achievement system finishing, Evil Dave quest, graphical reworks for Seer's Villages and the Witch's House, combat pets, and Shattered World improvements. So, I mean, that's still a long list of things that are going to be done. It's just there aren't going to be 2 huge expansions on top of that. Go ahead.
I will say, they did say that those were things that were currently being worked on. I could remember them promising to get all those done, because I would be pretty shocked.
Go ahead.
Got done, because 2 of those mining and the bank rework are like gigantic updates. So I don't.
Those are gigantic updates. Like,
I'd be pretty surprised.
I mean, they clearly overloaded themselves, right? Like, they not only did they take these large to extra large updates, being the mining and smithing rework and the bank update, but then they piled on 2 expansions on top of that. Like, that seems like just resource wise irresponsible, like, unless you have thousands of staff members, which I don't think they do.
Good word, because they kind of really pushed hard on the expansions ago. Obviously it was announced at RuneFest, but they really pushed it hard right around when Premier Club was being sold. So I do think there's something pretty frustrating with, maybe, I wasn't one of these players because I would have gotten Premier Club regardless, but I wouldn't be surprised if some people got Premier Club or decided to continue Premier Club simply because of how hard the expansion thing was pushed. And they were like, we're going to do mining and smithing rework, we're going to do a bank rework, we're going to do Menaphos, and there's going to be 2 other massive expansions on the scale of Menaphos. And it's like, that seems like, it seemed to me around that time that 2017 was going to be the best year.
Yeah. They made it sound like 2017. Like, if you weren't playing RuneScape in 2017, you were going to regret it. And it has basically been the complete opposite.
I know people who bought Premier Club purely based on all the expansion hype and have been so disappointed that they've just stopped playing even though they have Premier Club and are just like, really?
You're talking to one of those people right now. Like I love RuneScape, and I'm never like it's gonna be really hard to get me to badmouth RuneScape. Like it's not something that I will easily. You'll get me to just easily do unless they've done something extremely stupid, and even then, I pretty much I reason pretty quickly, even with anger. But I've had time to let this stew, and I'm certainly not upset. And I think like these all still sound like great updates. Bank reworks awesome. Mining and smithing. I'll be honest with you. I don't even believe that's coming out this year. That's another thing is like I can go down this list of updates that they claim are coming out in 2017, and I can pretty much just check like a half of these off the list. I don't think they're gonna make it in 2017, and Jagex is not in any place to argue the opposite because the year after year they don't deliver on their expectations. Go ahead.
I like the fact that they said that they were going to give a progress bar. I think it was on the 28th of July. So we can actually see they're going old school with this because back in the day they used to give us progress bars on where an update is at a certain point. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I do.
I don't remember that. But I do remember them bringing in updates and releasing dev blogs and stuff like that, and I thought that was the best way to go, is every couple of months release like a 2 or 3 page dev blog for us to read. It was great for the show, it was entertaining, and it spawned speculation. I really hope that we go back to a model like that. At RuneScape Weekly, a little hidden agenda here, but RuneScape Weekly really thrived under that environment. If anyone remembers the days where we were able to churn out like 5 shows a week, 4 shows a week, it's because they were doing a Q&A and like 10 dev blogs a day.
And that could be a good model for sure. And I think the last thing I'll say is like the service I sell leashes with, we're currently like desperately trying to find more people to join because so many people who are dedicated players, like maybe players who played like at least 10 hours a day or even more. Like these are like some of the most dedicated people. Many of them stream. And they've been so dismayed by the lack of quality content and just the months of basically zero except for treasure hunter updates. And the promise Manifos was going to be worth just having treasure hunter for a month and a half, 2 months or whatever. And a lot of them have quit even though they had Premier Club. And so like losing players that 1, play 10 hours a day, 2, have multiple alts that all have membership, typically have an Iron Man with membership. It's like I know several people who have 4 or 5 different accounts they have membership on. And to be fair, maybe a couple of them are just being paid with bonds, but even like people buying bonds is important too, because no one's going to buy bonds unless there's a reason to have them. So losing players like that, just going from the most dedicated 1% of players to just quitting in droves. And
quitting's a strong word.
I think
I just want to point that singular thing. I agree with like 99% of what you're saying here, but quitting's a strong word. Like I everything you say, I pretty much agree with, like for myself personally, but like I don't consider myself quit. Like the fact
just playing for months. So even that is still
it's a hiatus. It's a hiatus. It's not good for the game. I agree with, like I said, I 99% agree with you, but I don't consider myself quit. I merely consider myself on hiatus until, and it was literally until the next expansion, but that kind of got thrown out the window. Yeah. So until the next substantial content update where I can, where there is 20, 30 hours for me to play, that's when I'll come back. I mean, I've been playing Black Desert Online for what, 2 weeks maybe now? I have 196 hours in this game. Like, that could have been RuneScape, Jagex.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you're right. Maybe quit's a strong word, but there are a lot of streamers and a lot of high-level PVMers who haven't logged on in a month, who used to play as much as you and I do.
I have literally affected the ancient relic market in this game. I play so freaking much. Like that's the thing. They lose hardcore players, and that's not good for them. Good.
Yeah.
Moving along.
It's been sad.
It has been sad, but there's
part 2 is just a breakdown of the video, so we can read that and kind of discuss in detail.
Yeah. So let's move in then to part 2, which is again the breakdown that you were talking about. So what is there anything in particular that you would like to talk about in this breakdown? Or do you want me to just go through it? Because literally this is a script of what was said in the video.
I know, but we wanted to talk about it in depth. I mean,
so
the video to give people, but you said you want to talk about it in depth, so I found the actual write-out.
Yeah, I have been. So do you have anything you'd like to add? What are your opinions? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
I mean, like I said, I think it's kind of in a place where this is what the game needs. It's kind of weird because I think expansions probably would have been a good update like 5 to 10 years ago would have been a good update model. But now with how slow content comes out and how much of the game is left in ruins, I think this is great. I mean, there's so many areas that we don't even think about. Like, think about all the underground cities that were like big in like 2006. They all need reworked, and they haven't been.
Yeah, very true.
So there's just a ton of content that could look better, but I also don't think Menafos was a failure. Like for me, at least. I mean, I think it
failure.
Exactly what it needed to. It was it's great mid-level content. The problem is, there's a lot of high-level players who are not used to not getting an update of some kind.
Yeah. And that's, I want to touch on that, because that's a very good point. Like, Menafos is not a failure. I do not want people to think that that is a message that we're trying to deliver here, or I'm trying to deliver. I personally loved Menafos, but it's not good for me because of my level. And all I really have left is the comp grind and the 120 grind. And I want something more than that right now. Forgive me. I want something new. And I was really hoping that expansions were going to provide that. Well, that's not an option anymore. I don't know when the next piece of like new content's coming that's really going to, hold my interest. So I have to move on. I have to try something else in the meantime. And that's kind of what I want to make sure is known here. Is I haven't quit, and Menafos was not a failure, and I don't think anyone should quit because of Menafos. Menafos was needed. It was a very much needed piece of content. What worries me here has nothing to do with anything but Jagex's ability to plan a roadmap properly. It just seems like every time they do, it all gets thrown up in the air halfway through, and we never see it through to the end. We never see a full completion.
So the interesting thing about this is they're taking the best things, in my opinion, of some of the older models.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like Rune Labs, or the players could suggest ideas. We vote on ideas that Jagex says needs done or has talked about, which I think is way better than having direct player suggestions. So this way, Jagex gets to control the polls. So it's all stuff that they know they can do.
I agree.
They probably have some kind of rough outline of, instead of stuff that they have to pull out of a player's head.
So I agree that polls are a great way to get information from people. I like the fact that they are issuing their own polls and not letting the players, pick the content this time. That's probably for the best. As far as the polling goes, I think it's a good addition to add back into the game. I had a negative point there, but it just slipped my mind, so hopefully it will come back. Because
how many people have actually voted so far?
There are some downsides.
In the poll since they've come back in?
I haven't logged in. Tell me, how many?
Actually, I haven't logged in though.
Great.
I'll log in right now, because I know there are three polls up right now. They're just like final say on what combat pet you want.
Real quick though, I just want to grab this comment real quick from Chet here. Mad Biatch saying, "I'm not even miffed about the XP being shit. It's the mid-level content. I just want more skilling options in Menafos." That's interesting, because I was kind of intrigued by the fact that they had more skilling options in Menafos, but at the same time, you're right. They're just kind of copy and pasted of like other skilling locations. There's nothing really new. It's a lot of like the same mechanics rehashed with new graphics. So that that does get boring, and I can see your point. Anyway, go ahead, DX. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Okay, I just had a look at the polls right now. There's a total of about 7. There's a total of about 8,000 votes on the Dragonstone poll at the moment. There is about 7.8k votes on the Diamond poll and the Ruby poll. Because it's a multiple choice, I have to just work it out in my head.
Yeah, the polls don't sort or anything.
It's probably about probably about 5 or 6,000 on the Ruby poll, and these are all for combat pets right now.
Can you tell who's currently leading in each of the polls, or is that too hard to tell right now?
Yes, I can.
Cool.
So I'll go to the Ruby poll first. The Ruby poll right now, Wallace is currently leading by Binjanvari. That's the what looks like a Grenwall with a shield in front of it and a helmet.
Lovely.
The Diamond Stone poll. Sorry, not Diamond Stone. The Diamond poll. Let's see. Morty by Veronica is currently leading that one. That's the constitutional skill pet. And in the Dragonstone poll, Sifu by Vexel is currently leading. That's the one that looks like one of those dragons on the Eastern Island.
People love the dragons.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, again, moving back into unfinished business here. So another thing to kind of touch upon here, of course, is the Ninja team itself. That is a really annoying noise. Thank you so much to the car out there who needs a brake change. The Ninja team is being doubled in size. So we have the Guardians and one of the other teams basically handling the regular updates for the year that were mentioned. But we have the Ninja team pretty much kind of taking the limelight here, which is, I think, something we've all wanted to see since the inception of the Ninjas, because they've always brought us some of our favorite little updates, I think. And again, we've already seen some of the fruits of that with the Quick Prayer presets coming in this week, if I am correct about that. Again, I haven't logged in.
They came in just a couple hours ago.
Yeah. And let me just say right now, that is an awesome feature. That I am pumped for that. There were so many times when I have wished that there were quick set for prayers. It's like certain situations require one set of prayers, certain situations require another set of prayers. It's awesome, and there's 5 presets or something? There's a good amount of 10 presets. That is delicious.
And you don't need to buy them from Solomon.
Completely free. It's just in the game. They're just yours to have.
You can put them on your action bar as well.
Like that. That is what we need. It's like the Ninja team releases the updates. They release salivating worthy updates. That's why I'm happy to see the Ninja team getting this size increase.
Stop drooling on the mic, mate.
It's not super useful the way it works now. It's nice, but it's still a pretty big problem. So basically, you know how you have your presets 1 through 10, right? And say you're using preset 1. So now let's say you go to your bank, you load preset 2. You know how there's the quick prayer option that you just click on it?
Yeah.
To turn your quick prayer off. And between kills, right? You turn your prayers off to save prayer points, turn it back on, right? That makes sense. So the way it works now is that whatever you have listed as your first preset, whatever that happens to be, is the one that your quick prayer, the original quick prayer uses. So if you want, say, be using preset 5, because preset 5 is your next preset, and you have, your ranged prayers up or whatever. You have to manually right-click, scroll down to preset 5, and click that every single time.
Oh, God.
And there's no way, unless you rechange what you have listed as preset 1 every single time, which is what we have to do now. It's really inconvenient to use. There's a way to drag it to your ability bar, but most PVMers have 4 or 5 completely full ability bars. So it's nice in theory, but the way they released it makes it not particularly useful. It can even cause problems in its current iteration.
Hopefully, it will receive the attention that it needs, so it becomes valuable in combat. That makes me sad to hear. Go ahead.
But it would be nice. It would just be nice that when you load, say, preset 5, that becomes your default preset until you load preset 4 or something like that.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see stuff like that in the future. More quality of life for the quality of life. Go ahead.
As someone who I just have quick prayers on my action bar, so I can easily just swap it out. So I think that's going to be their solution, because I think it would be a way more complex system if they did what you're talking about, because then they would have to have presets work a completely different way. Because right now presets are directly based on what order they're in, and I don't know, the way the game engine interprets order and how it does that stuff, I would guess it would be super complicated for them to fix that, considering they can't even fix ordering stuff right at portables. I don't know, it's probably the same type of engine there that's limiting things.
Yeah, that's fair. It could be a difficult fix. It's just that it's not what they sort of said it was going to be when they were announcing it.
I don't agree. because I mean they said it was presets and it was draggable onto your action bar. I mean that's exactly what they said.
Yeah, I guess and also what you're talking about, Hannah, with the dragging it onto your thing, like that's not it doesn't work exactly like that. You can't exactly do that. You have to make a lot of like. It's fine. It's an improvement, but it's not what kind of people were hoping for.
The Jagex way. Kind of what people wanted, but not quite. We also have the Aura Bag coming, which is going to be awesome. I cannot wait for the Aura Bag. That is going to be so many bank spaces saved. I love auras. I love having auras, collecting auras, using auras, playing with auras, juggling auras. But I hate the fact that they waste like 15 of my bank spaces and it's ever growing as I ever unlock more of them. So I'm so excited. You could always
destroy that. You could always destroy it and then
you
on slow
monster.
And just get it back.
I'm lazy. What? That's the real thing. As I don't want to have to travel to an NPC to get them back. If I could press a button, on my keyboard and an interface came up and I could withdraw it from there, cool. But the fact that I have to travel to an NPC, it's just I'll just waste the bank space.
Too far.
Yep.
Waste.
I'll just take the bank space loss. So I am set to reclaim like 15 bank spaces when the Aura Bag comes out. I love the idea of an Aura Bag. Another great update that that's a ninja update, and that has been kind of floating around on the dev table for quite some time. I believe it was kind of originally created or started to be created in February during the game jam, so it's nice to finally see that making it into the game.
Speaking of game jam, wasn't that last year where we actually had that RuneScape survey during that last year?
Say again?
That RuneScape survey, didn't we have... Oh, no, that wasn't the game jam. That was the Summer Summit I was thinking of.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I had that confused because I'm concerned that, all the stuff that we had last year on that survey is going to be on that shit again.
It is, because they didn't make any of it.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
That's the thing, is like, a lot of the stuff on the survey is going to be the same stuff that was on the survey last year, because it's the same stuff we still want that they didn't make. Like, nobody... The only thing that they made that we asked for, I think, was Menefos. Like, people wanted Menefos, and everything else was basically just, like, Jagex's brainchild. Also, a side note, honorable mention in all of these cancellations, Bank Bidders was canceled. Just saying. Anyway.
Yeah, my goodness. Oh, my God. That was, like... I don't know.
What about Penguins in Space? Is that canceled yet?
I don't know. They didn't really mention that. I don't know if that was ever serious or not.
We need that.
We do need that.
If there's a Jagex mod out there, right, who's actually listening in, can you actually put that song on their SoundCloud? Because that was a fantastic song.
That was a great song. I would definitely open with that song if it was available on SoundCloud.
Yeah, I would too if I was streaming.
Bank rework number 1. Good.
Penguin is down. Now that Club Penguin's closed down, maybe we can get the Club Penguin developers and just turn RS.
Imagine that all the developers that RuneScape hired were all ex-Club Penguin developers. That would be so great. Underking saying Bank Reworks number 1 for them right now. Like, does anyone have their number 1s like off the top of their head for this survey that's coming out in a few weeks? Like, obviously, player-owned house/farm rework is mine. So. Yeah, construction.
Construction in general. I feel like
construction
has so much potential for the modern era of RuneScape.
Yeah.
And it's so expensive and does nothing right now.
Yeah.
Even if the costs were kept the same or increased and it just had a freaking use, it would be amazing.
As much as I like the idea of the bank rework, I'm a messy person. I have no ability to organize. It's just genetically I cannot organize things. So it doesn't value to me as much as it does to a lot of other people. So yeah, farm. I'm just so excited to see like a farming / player-owned house construction rework. Just construction in general. I want to see construction and farming kind of become one or spawn an elite skill. I know they've been talking about releasing another skill as it's kind of that time. And I wonder if they're going to rethink releasing a skill. I think that might be something that they pull. And I'll be honest.
Just do reworks.
Yeah, like if that's a poll. If there's ever a poll for a new skill, I'm sorry, I'm going to vote for a new skill as a skiller. I have to. I know it's the wrong thing for them to do, but like I can't not. Go ahead.
It wasn't an official one or anything, but it was like one of those polls they put on the website, and new skill got 10% of the votes, or maybe less.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
I think I think our new skill should be coming like mid 2019 or something. I don't know.
Health-wise for the game, I think you're probably in the right ballpark. I am greedy, I'm selfish, and I really want a new skill just for the fact of a new skill.
Like smithing will basically be a new skill if it comes.
If they do it right, yeah.
It'll still give you.
If I want to,
I think if they do in-depth reworks, it would still give you interest.
Con reasoning, yeah, I agree. Underking con rework will be amazing if they do it right. That's the thing. I mean, you're right. That will be my new skill. Like I am willing to accept the mining and smithing reworks as a new skill if they do it correctly. Good.
Yeah, and I also think that there's so much potential for things they could add to make people go to different areas in the game.
Yeah.
So that is exciting to see. And yeah, and I'm also excited for the bank rework. That's probably the thing I'm most excited for that they've announced and it is guaranteed, because I think that'll change a lot of our interactions with the game. And I'm excited for like the combat, honestly, like the small combat improvements they keep doing like every month or so too, to make RS3 combat smoother. So that kind of stuff has me excited. Maybe we can finally get a macro system pushed through.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe we can finally get a complete AFK skilling system pushed through. In my dreams. Like, I have to say, that is the one thing, and again, go ahead.
For the bank rework, the organizational stuff I couldn't care less about in the same way as Mage there, but the more bank presets would be good, because 10 is just close to enough. I need like 20 or more.
That's kind of where I feel as well. Like a bank rework, I understand how much it's wanted. I get it. I would never stand in the way of a bank rework. But like, yeah, the only thing that I'm going to value out of it is more presets, more comprehensive presets that can be a little more like smart and intelligent about item degrades and stuff like that. Like that would be really fun. Like fun is the wrong word, but it'd be really helpful if a preset could understand that an item that was set originally on it that had no degrade, and then it becomes degraded, like it would understand that was the same item. Like that would be really helpful. I know that's a lot of work, probably a lot of engine problems going on there. But like that's the stuff that I would, find useful, not just like placeholders and item tags and stuff like that. And more tabs, that type of stuff doesn't help me, because when I want something in my bank, if I don't see it immediately, which happens most of the time, I just search for it, and then there it is, and that's fine. And that's just how I like to use the bank. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and maybe even I'm really, really unorganized, so.
Same way, I think we're in total agreement on all of that.
Fair enough. Zenel saying, just remembered, there's been a bunch of old construction ideas floating around. And they've never made it into the game, though. There has been some, even here on the show, we've talked about some fantastic ideas. I've even seen them official live stream some really interesting ideas for construction. It just never seems to make it. And I don't know if that's a lack of people wanting it, or if that just they have other projects. I really hope construction pulls high for 2018. I
could come up with some sort of prototype or something for a construction.
You should do it. You should definitely.
Because on my sick and twisted mind, I could come up with something really crazy.
I wouldn't say 2018. I don't know when these polls are going to take effect, but there's a lot of the year left. Like we're still going to get 2 pretty big updates at least this year, or like
you would think that.
So like. I don't know. There's a lot to come, and we don't really know that other than the bank.
Well, I think what we're gonna see this year is probably the bank rework, mining and smithing, and clue scroll overhaul. Though I think those are the big updates that we'll probably still see this year. Maybe Invention Batch 2 as well.
I think Invention Batch 2 was supposed to come along with whatever the second expansion was supposed to be, but now that that's been suspended, Invention Batch 2 is coming on its own.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. Just get it in. Invention Batch 2 could have been an expansion as far as I'm concerned. There's so much you can still do with Invention. So hopefully that they will take the liberty to actually do that. Invention could... I am itching so much for more simulation in RuneScape. Like that is, again... I can't compare Black Desert and RuneScape. They're 2 very different games. But one thing I really love that I think RuneScape could benefit from is something like the worker system that a BDO implements, where like I have farms set up and I have these workers that I've hired and whatnot, and I feed them and pay for them, and they go out and they just do the work for me, and then all I have to do is harvest the materials. Like that would be
basically like SimCity for you.
Yeah, well, it adds a level of simulation to the game that adds this kind of management element. So basically, like, you can use management skills to make money in the game, and I find that really valuable. And Miscellanea briefly touches upon that in RuneScape, and I would love to see an expansion of that into, the main game. And I think construction and farming could really do that. I'm going to sneeze, so please feel free to take over here.
I really think construction. You've kind of sold me the construction to be really cool. Farming barely lost to aquariums in that poll that they did a while back. Like it was neck and neck till the very end. So clearly, a big percentage of the player base wants player-owned farms at the construction.
I was surprised at that and really happy because it's all I want in the game. It's all that I truly desire is a better simulation system in the game. I want to create things. I want to modify the environment. I want to sell them to other people. Sorry, I've lost my voice here for a second. Go ahead.
I want there to be option. Sorry, I want there to be an option in, say, a construction rework. It's full green screen. Because that would make things so much easier for someone like me who likes to make RuneScape videos.
Yeah, where the grass wasn't on the ground or something. Like, can't you make it completely green now if you remove all the textures?
Not completely green. You can do the grass completely green and I think completely blue and blue screen, but it's not removed from above the grass level. Above the grass level, it's still the bloody skybox.
Oh, you can't. Oh, with Shawnee's skybox feature, you can't turn the sky chroma key.
No,
you should.
That would be a good feature.
Yeah, I would say.
Shawnee, if you're there, Mod Shawnee, give us an option for chroma key or something.
Yeah, I would
tweet your skybox.
I would tweet him and be like, "Hey, your skybox feature is awesome. Can you add green screen or something to it to match with the housing?" Because I guarantee you that would probably take him 20 minutes to do, if he wants to do it. So that would be, I think, a great addition to Machinima makers. I'll take the LP Anthem Mage if you don't desire it.
I want the bestiary page back because you're able to add monsters and stuff in places where you shouldn't be able to add them.
That sounds fun. Construction has a real potential to be an addictive skill again, says Underking. People love building simulators. It just needs to be brought up to modern standards and given more variety. 100% agree.
Oh yes, that was in my brain. Weird stuff.
The fact that construction basically gives you the ability to construct, I mean, that just opens up that creative flow in your brain. And that's what I need to tickle. I need the ability to make something that's mine, that's personal to my tastes. And the game has kind of been lacking that type of entertainment for a long time, really. I really can't think of the last time they have added in content that you can really kind of customize to your own specific play style and liking. Please correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't want to unnecessarily shit on the game here, but I think it's due time to see some more simulation elements to the game to kind of bring people together. If you had some really badass farms and whatnot, trading between farms I think should be a thing. I would love to see something separate from the Grand Exchange, but also tied to the Grand Exchange, so you kind of have the option of going either way. You could just sell your goods mass market on the Grand Exchange, or you could maybe get together with a co-op of farms and trade goods to help your own farm production in the early stages to kind of boost your ability to produce, or in the later stages trading rare ingredients that are necessary to create artisan dishes that again will sell on the Grand Exchange for buttloads of money because they provide certain boosts that are temporary for combat and whatnot. Farming, in my opinion, has limitless potential.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Bloodweed. Just that, even that by itself really
did help farming. Yeah, that was a great addition to farming. I would love to see that times a million. Hire me, Jagex. I will build you the perfect farming / community system. It will be delicious. It will be the best of just every game in existence.
It would be delicious.
Let me oversell my idea to the max here, so I can never live up to the hype.
Tank.
So, were you surprised to see no mention or at all on the list of the group boss, the small team 2 to 5 player group boss that was promised for fall of 2018?
I mean, I'll be honest, I was surprised that this is even happening, so that actually kind of went right over my head as all of the chaos around me. It just literally felt like everything was just kind of falling down around me. It just doesn't surprise me that that isn't coming, but no, it just it kind of got lost in the chaos. So do expound if you'd like, though. There was supposed to be a small 2-man boss coming.
Be 3 bosses to come out for the dual wield tier 92s.
Yeah.
AOD, of course, was the first one. The second one is Magister, and then in fall, the Ambassador is the supposed name of it, but basically there was supposed to be another solo boss, and people were like, no, we don't want it to be too many solo bosses, we want like a small team boss, and so they said it'd be a 2 to 5 player group boss, kind of in line with what we expect to get at Virago, and that would be of the 3 bosses dropping dual wield tier 92s. So, I'm where range doesn't have dual wield tier 92s until way later than everyone else if it doesn't come out this year. And 2, I know a lot of people who after Magister came out kind of just like decided they weren't going to play much until the new group boss comes out, and so I'm hoping they haven't just like abandoned that idea, because the players who among the players who like bossing, new bosses are typically extremely popular updates. So it's like, it might not be a widely popular one, but the people who do play it, buy tons of bonds, typically have several alts play all day long, are super dedicated, they stream whatever. So, I think those are important updates too, even if not everyone does, elite level group bossing. The ones who do really spend all day playing RS.
Fair enough. Let me just get back over here to my document. Hampshire says write a document on it. I could do that if I can remember. Remind me. I would love to see these types of systems in the game, because I think it does bring in those people who play for, like you said, 10 hours a day. Like the people who want to kind of be involved and enjoy the immersion aspect. And these types of things can be easily created when you allow people to create it themselves. Like, that sounds really like kind of cliche and almost like buzzwordy, but like, it's true. If you give people the tools to create the things that they want to create, they will create it in your environment that you've given them to create it in. So that's what I'm trying to say here, is this, especially if it's going to cost in-game gold to do so, like that could be the ultimate money sink, like this new farming system, especially if it provides the rewards that I'm, talking about. But I could write up a document. It might take me a while to do so. But
that sounds like a great idea. I like this idea.
I feel like it's come to a point where a document might be necessary, because clearly they don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, they just keep making projects and canceling them year after year. So I don't know. The game needs a proper gathering system. Sorry, like the one we have is just so broken, and only supports AFK. Like, that's just silly. As much as I love a good AFK, there needs to be more substance. And I thought they were hitting the the nail on the anvil, if you will, with the mining and smithing rework. I loved those documents, but it seems that when you ask them about them, they seem very hesitant to talk about them, and they seem hesitant to back up their own ideas, which frightens me. Like, I don't know how much they trust in their own ideas, which means, dude, are they actually even going to release this update this year? If you're so unsure about it, how do we know it's even actually being produced? That's what I'm afraid of. Is this even being produced? Good.
It's been total radio silence on it too. But like, the last thing I want to say for me about this is, I agree with you that Menaphos is needed, and Menaphos itself is not a failure. It is for high levels, but that's fine. It wasn't meant for high levels. That's totally okay. The problem with Menaphos is not the system itself. It's that the way it was gone about and the way it was released, in my opinion, was just a colossal failure. One of the most methods of release that I've ever seen. The sort of, we're going to give you basically nothing.
I mean, they were quick to point out, because it does sound like that, right? Like, they were like, oh, by the way, everything for the rest of the year is canceled, but it's not really. Good.
Yeah, no. I mean, like all the month or two, basically 2 months before Menaphos release.
Yeah.
It was like patch weeks and treasure hunter updates, and
yeah, it was disgusting. We got nothing. It was very obvious that they put everything into Menaphos.
No, it's like. And at the same time, content-wise, like, Menaphos had 3 quests, which basically were put together one medium-sized quest. Like, the final quest took literally 6 minutes.
Yeah, that to me is sad. Like, that's a problem.
Fetch quest, somewhat interesting quest, 6-minute quest, could have been one. Skilling that is literally copy-paste with prettier graphic. 15 teams, which was cool on release, but then people pretty quickly realized that, one, it wasn't good money, two, it wasn't good XP compared to things like the Arc or things like Perf Skilling, even at the highest levels. And then the last one was the Slayer thing, and it's fine. I mean, it's okay. If you really like Slayer, then I guess it's good for you, but...
Yeah, if you loved Slayer, this update was definitely for you. But if you didn't, you were either a mid-level player or you quit. No, I'm just kidding. No, but mid-level players definitely should have enjoyed Menopause. I mean, I think that there have been some, important things brought up here in our chat, like the point that Menopause is kind of just copy-paste skilling of everything else. Like, yes, it's all new, but it's really just new paint. Everything else underneath on the mechanic level was almost all the same, barring the reputation system, obviously very different. Nothing like that has ever been done in RuneScape before. But the actual city itself with the skilling nodes, there's no variety in skilling nodes. From going like, if I want to mine, I can, and I'm going to mine there. It's no different than mining anywhere else, really. Same for the fishing, same for everything. It's all just the same with a pretty Menopause coat of paint on it, and I think that may have turned some people off, and I can understand that.
The reputation system was no different than like a Fallen Nihil event, and I was forced to do it for comp. It was just a Fallen Nihil event, and that sucks. Like,
a lot of people were not happy about the reputation system. I personally like grinds, but the rewards for those grinds were horrible.
Yeah, the grind's fine, but it was an MTX style cosmetic override thing. There was no benefit other than bank chests, I guess, but that's like almost artificial. It's like fine, okay, like maybe I got to do a few things to unlock the bank deposits. That makes sense, but it's like for the end rewards to all be cosmetic overrides, it's like, come on.
That is unacceptable to grind 40, 50, 60 hours even and then just get cosmetics. Yes, no, that is not okay. Not okay at all. I agree. Sarah says, 120 Slayer Mage got the same as Invention. It's just a bunch of empty levels. The new monsters look good. Okay, XP, but drops for their levels around level 80 Slayer. So, it doesn't sound like the mobs would... I personally haven't done Slayer. Have you done any Slayer?
For me, I found the XP rates to be quite good. I also have a different approach to Slayer than many folks probably do. For those who treat Slayer as laid back, kind of a skill thing, I imagine that XP rates are okay, not great. For me, they were quite good.
Good to know.
The mobs look good. The dungeon looks really good. Again, it's graphically nice, but it's just a copy paste.
It's a shiny new coat of paint on a bunch of old mechanics, and in 2017, that doesn't float. Like, as far as I'm concerned, you need to do new stuff. You need to be trying new stuff. And Jagex is famous for trying new stuff. It generally gets them in financial trouble all the time. So, please, try some new stuff. Yeah.
I think that if you turn off the auto loot system, you'll find the GP per hour goes up quite a bit. So I think that it's purposeful that you're not. I don't think you're supposed to make a whole lot of money doing that because one, you could get the occasional key, which is pretty nice. It's like 700k or whatever, and you get 2 to 3 keys an hour. And two, because everything auto loots, I think that it's purposefully significantly less good GP than expected because you don't have to use spring cleaner charges, you don't have to pick anything up, you don't use note paper or whatever. So I think that to be fair, if you looted it the normal way and turned off the auto loot to the chest, I think that you'd find it be a little bit more in line with what you'd expect.
It's good to know. I turned down the quality for anyone wondering because David was cutting in and out, and I'm trying to prevent the cutting in and out. So that's why there's a drop in host quality for that reason. Yeah, I love... What the hell am I talking about? David, recap for me here. I totally just lied.
You're talking about Slayer stuff, and new coats of paint not being...
Yeah, new mechanics. No new mechanics, really. I mean, that's actually my main point is, are there new mechanics beyond Gemstone Dragons, which were already pre-released before Menopause? Do any of these monsters have any new mechanics that you need to watch out for? Or is it all just like, I'm going to kill these monsters, they drop loot, it goes in a chest, that's the end of that?
Yeah, they did the thing with the corruption where you need to bring feathers with you, and every once in a while click on the so you don't get too much corruption damage. But other than that,
Okay.
it's identical.
So there's a minor like anti-AFK method that's just basically meant to keep you checking in every few minutes. Is that
not anti-AFK? It basically just requires you to buy stuff from an NPC and that's it. That's the only mechanic. It's a mechanic to make it less GP per hour.
Okay, so it's just a tiny money sink, really.
But it looks good. It looks pretty.
But it looks good. Fair enough. So, why don't we talk about the main attraction of this dungeon being the Magister? You want to talk to me about the Magister?
Yeah, so Magister release, I got up early with a lot of other people. We were on TeamSpeak. We were anticipating a difficult fight. We thought, 2.5 to 3 minutes seems pretty quick for a fight of what we expected, but we're like, maybe it's just going to be like a really, really intense DPS battle. And we all kind of went there, and it was just like, not what was expected at all. I mean, I didn't know a single mechanic. My first kill time was 1 minute and 23 seconds, having no clue what I was doing.
That's not bad for your first go around.
Yeah, I got my third kill I did with just a Gothic staff and nothing else. They
originally said it was going to take about 3 minutes, man. You've done it in what, 120? 140?
And, my current best kill is 50 seconds.
Jesus.
Average kill times for me are probably 55 seconds to 1 minute and 5 seconds.
That's insane.
So the drop table is probably the worst drop table since it's definitely less. It's about the same loot per kill as than QBD, or maybe it's around QBD in terms of GP. Obviously, you have the phylactery though, which gives you potential for tier 92s. On release, it was disastrously bad money. Most of us spent 1.5 to 1.8 mil on keys because we expected something a lot grander and bigger drops or whatever. And once people realized that the average drop was like 110, 120k, like literally dragon plate legs is a common drop there. So it's like not what was expected. There are skilling drops, but the only two skilling drops that don't have alk floors are 15 Ranar weed and 15 of one other herb that already has 15 toad flax.
Okay.
So it's like, yes, there's that, but it's like 15 Ranar weed and 15 toad flax when you're spending right now at least 800 to 900k per key is not. I don't think that's gonna like crash the low level farming market or something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about that. That's not too bad. I feel actually pretty relieved to hear that information. So that's good. That's good news.
Yeah, and there are things like battle staves and rune bars, and I've talked to people who believe those are also skilling drops that should be left for skilling. I kind of think the days of making money by turning coal and rune ore into rune bars are long gone, and it's good that it's gone, but I don't know. I'm curious to hear the more fully developed argument for why rune bars and addy bars should be removed from all drop tables. I know you don't feel that way, right? Am I right in saying that, Mage?
Yeah, I don't think there's a need to. They're at elk value, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been at elk value for like 10 years.
If they're at elk value, then I don't see any reason why they can't drop. People are just going to elk them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So just like it felt, we were all kind of saying it felt like fighting just a dummy that hit back once in a while.
Aw. So no real mechanics then?
Is a bomb that gets thrown out with a timer. It's very obvious. There's just like this big timer that goes up and you have plenty of time to get out of the way. It hits you for 4,000 damage. The second one is it'll release minions after a certain number of attacks. HP marks, but as you deal 50k damage, the timer seems to reset. So if you DPS hard enough, you'll never even see the minions come out at all. Pillar, I don't even know how the thing works exactly because we're killing the boss so quickly that the negative debuff that was supposed to happen, you know how they sort of build it as you get to DPS the boss or DPS the like corruption pillar or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, basically, we're killing it so quickly that we don't even notice that mechanic happening. Like, I literally couldn't tell you how it works because I kill it so fast I can't even.
From my understanding,
I can't even tell you if it's bad.
From my understanding, you need to bring the boss down before that pillar drains your max life points. And I don't know how quickly it drains your max life points, but I've heard it's pretty quick. I mean. Mm-hmm.
I think maybe if it's taking 3 minutes to get a kill, that's true, but
yes,
you're getting kills sub 1 minute.
If you're taking 5 minutes to get a kill, your max HP is going to drop to like 3,000-4,000, from my understanding. If you're taking 1 to 1.5 minutes to get a kill, your HP probably won't be affected. And this is just from my research. I haven't actually fought the boss, and of course,
30 HP or something was the lowest I've ever gotten to.
How much? Say it again. You broke up.
8,000 to 8,500 HP.
Gotcha. Now, everyone listening, keep in mind, David is, probably elite tier PVM, so your results can vary slightly depending on your gear and skill and all that fun stuff. But that's the ceiling that you'd say you shoot for is probably like, how long is a kill? About a minute and what?
Yeah, 55 seconds to a minute.
55 seconds to a minute for like top tier.
Yeah, that's with.
Go ahead.
92. That's 4-tick auto attacking with tier 92 wand and orb and an SOS.
Yeah, so like the average player could probably expect to see kills probably closer to 2 minutes. Is that fair to say? Maybe 2.5 minutes.
I went with Ascensions and used Revolution and got 1.5 minutes to minute 40.
Okay, so I think 2 minutes is fair to say for like the average PVMer with maybe like tier 80 gear. Okay.
I haven't tried it. Honestly, so I couldn't tell you that. I've only tried tier 90 is the lowest I've used, so I couldn't give you a description there.
That's good information.
Released as like once you figure out the mechanics, it'll be 2.5 to 3 minutes. It was pretty sad to see just like first kill, like and I used 1 sip of Saradomin brew, and it's just like.
So you never died.
Yeah, I actually did. I've died once. I DC'd and got killed.
Nah, so doesn't
count.
Jagex. You got Jagex.
My internet went out. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine that ever happening. So Settle says here, drinking a super restore will restore 700 to your max life points. So you can use that as a way to not attack the obelisk if you are having trouble with your life points. I don't know anyone who attacks the obelisk though. Like that seems to be something that is better left to just power through. Would you agree with that? I don't think you wouldn't agree with that. As someone who,
I would say no matter how slow your DPS is, just bringing super restores. Don't worry about the obelisk.
Sarah says 5 minutes 46 seconds here, but just use the Sign of Life from my Cape Reaper title and never going back. So there you go.
Yeah, so I bought 400 keys for around 1.7 mil each, so I'm gonna lose a ton of money. And it's like arguably it's not their fault. They're not. We're gonna be. They didn't give us drop table releases, and that's fine. The weapons are going for 400 to 500 mil, so at current prices, if you get the drops in the expected range, you can expect maybe 6 or 7 mil an hour there over time. The problem is that to do it, that's still like 450 to 500 mil spent on keys. And I think a large part of the player base, even the player base with 115 Slayer or 110 Slayer with a Wilder Pie, I don't think that many people have 400 to 500 to 600 mil to tie up in keys, hoping to eventually profit at some point. And then if you go dry, you're totally screwed. And the last thing is, the way that they did the drops just like seems really artificial to me. So they've got these 3 blessings that's become the new standard, is like dropping in 3 pieces. That part's fine. But having the thing that drops scraps, where you can get either 2, 5, 10, or 25, more RNG than is required, and it also doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know why they didn't just make the blessings drop in order like Telos and just make them a really rare drop.
Yeah.
It's exciting to get something that's worth a ton, but you're fighting Magister. You fight Magister knowing that unless you get Hazelmere's Signet Ring, there's no possibility of getting a drop that's just like makes the whole, because like when you get a big drop in PVM, it just makes your whole day. Like you're in a good mood for the rest of the
I
day.
haven't felt like that in a long time, but I know the feeling.
And unless you get HSR, which is whatever, that's kind of not their comparison, unless you get that, there's no way that you will ever get a drop at Magister that leaves you feeling really excited. And I don't know. That's part of what makes it so fun to me. And yeah, so those are my thoughts. I'm disappointed by the lack of complexity of the mechanics for a tier 92 boss. I get that it's a Slayer boss, so it's like that's not too bad. I also get that I massively overpaid for keys, and it's my fault I'm going to lose, like, 400 mil or 500 mil by the time I have my first weapon. I just think that this content is both locked from the standpoint it's really high Slayer, and secondly, it's locked from the standpoint that you have to be able to tie up your capital of at least 400 to 500 mil before you ever see a possibility of profit. And I don't know how much of the player base can do that. I obviously can, because I have more money than I could ever spend, really, unless I was buying holiday items. That's the only exception.
So you don't see people like buying a key, getting a kill, going and grinding, buying a key, getting a kill, going and grinding on more money, etc., etc. Because that's probably like how I would do it if I was still a noob, and that's how I used to like do anything combat related. Was a little bit of combat, grind up like some food, sell the food, have the money, keep some of the food, go back, fight it again.
That was the same way for me. And because keys are like 700k right now, and the expected drop value is probably 100k.
Ouch. That's just like you're really rolling. You're really rolling. If you don't get a rare drop, you're basically out your entire investment. Interesting.
You get a blessing or something and get really lucky. It's like if you get lucky and get a phylactery scraps, well, great, you still need another 290 scraps because
that's crazy.
You have with zero or with literally zero until you have 300 of them.
Yeah,
the difference between having 0 and 299 is they're both exactly the same. So until you get 300, it's worth nothing. So it's like and like I said, on average, it's taking people about 600 kills to get all 3 blessings.
Fair enough.
So that's a lot of GP to tie up in something, and it's fine, but it's not awful, but it's fun or enjoyable. I'm just gonna do it till I get the pet and probably never go back, and that just seems to be the last thing in what has been a long succession of disappointments. And in terms of the high level PVM community, the reason why my friends chat, which has some of the highest level PVMers in the game, a lot of them have stopped playing, was with Magister. Like when Magister was released, that was just the final. It was just like, you haven't produced content for me other than Angel of Death since Telos released. Like high level PVM has gotten one good update other than minor ninja type fixes since June of last year, and it's a little.
I think that's the same for everyone. I don't think anyone's got a good update since last year. Like, you're not alone. I mean, there have been some good updates, but great updates is what I'm saying here. Like, really great updates, like for you, Telos. Like I think the last great update that I received would probably have been Elf City. So, like, how do you think I feel?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for PVMers, Invention was phenomenal, but for everyone else, it wasn't. So so last we got Telos and we got Invention. This year we've gotten AOD. So in the last 2 years, we've gotten 3 significant updates that I feel really good about as
you got Shattered
with
Worlds.
my play.
We got it, but did we ask for it?
Like, Shattered Worlds is awful. It's so bad.
Okay, well, it's like it's the further you go in it, the higher the level is, and the harder the boss fight is.
That's fair. I mean, you're right, DX. That is technically geared towards PVM, but it's not like it's not like like a.
It's not what tickles the PVM dopamine gland. If you get what I'm saying. Like what really PVM's. Yeah, but PVM. The problem with Shattered Worlds is there's no end game and there's no end reward beyond the reward shop. And let's be honest, the reward shop kind of sucks. So PVMers are pretty much just like they get through the first like 100 levels and then they're like, there's no point, and then they go back to PVM where they can make money.
And also, unless you want XP, I've never talked to a single person who says, "Oh yeah, I found Shattered Worlds enjoyable beyond it looking really pretty." And I'm worried about that. It's like
It was
To be
gorgeous.
fair, I'm one of the people that actually really enjoys the Shattered Worlds because I like the challenge.
I think it's gorgeous. I love looking at it, and that's about it.
I'm glad that you enjoy it. It's good. It makes me happy to hear that.
Me too. Me too. That tells me that there is an audience for it, and that's good. Even if it's a small audience, I'm glad that someone's using it.
Yeah, definitely. So that's good to hear, DX. I just think that it's for me, the problem is the way that the shop is balanced is because the Slayer mat, like for example, there was some Reddit posts that were like, by the time, if you're a mid-level account going for the mid-level mask, by the time you've accumulated enough points to buy a mask, you'll have so much XP that you'll no longer be a mid-level player.
Hey, I'll tell you
pretty
something
cool.
about those. I'll tell you something about those masks, right? When that Shattered Worlds came out, I already had 3/4 of the masks I won off bloody Treasure Hunter.
I own them all. Like, there's no point. That shop is for new accounts, clearly. But even so, the point values for those masks are unobtainable. Like, for anyone who ever reached the amount of points, for anyone who reaches the amount of points they need for like one of the low level masks, they're gonna be so beyond that mask and Slayer by the time they unlock it. It just doesn't make any sense. Like progressively, it just doesn't make any sense. So I don't know what the plan was for that, but Shattered Worlds, and again, it's on the list. Shattered Worlds improvements are on the list. So clearly there's an audience out there, otherwise why would they bother fixing it? Or maybe they're trying to save face. I don't know. Go ahead.
Ability. Mutated Dazing Shot has potential to change the meta of PVM, but Magic is so overpowered at the moment compared to range that very few instances do people ever choose to use range just because of how overpowered Magic is at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like that's always been the case in RuneScape, is Magic has always been overpowered ever since Meleescape was killed in like 2000 and like I don't know when it was killed. It was killed a long time ago. I'm sure I'm wrong, but it's just how I feel. Anyway, shall we continue on here? We have a few posts to actually get into. Is there anything else you want to talk Magister wise?
No, nothing. Nothing specific. Just a general. Which I know kind of it makes the show even more kind of sad, but that's just the truth about 2017 so far. It's just that I don't know. It's just it hasn't been good, and it just hasn't been.
I want to point out real quick with all this negativity, and I'm looking in chat. And I see sailing skill jokes being made. I just want to point out Black Desert Online has a sailing skill and it's fun. So, anyway, that's all I got.
Also, while you and David have been talking, there's been some weird tweets been going out. One from Mod Ash, it said 7 days to go before the announcement. That was in old school RuneScape.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mod Ash is old school.
Yeah, but the same announcement also happened in RuneScape 3
It's got to be RuneFest then, right? That's the only thing that ties the two games together that they really need to announce.
That sounds,
It's probably
that sounds right. RuneFest.
It's probably going to be more RuneFest information. It is my guess. I could be wrong. It could also be a charity event.
It's a pretty good guess because it makes a lot of sense, and also the charity one also makes a lot of sense too. But that's pretty weird that an announcement would be going out on both Old School and RuneScape 3 simultaneously.
Yeah, I wonder if it's more information on RuneFest. I would honestly love it to be like a summer charity event that the two games are doing together. Black Desert Online Weekly now featuring short segments about RuneScape. Shut up, Sentinel.
That's what happens when we get sidetracked. We talk about RuneScape.
Yeah, occasionally. Anyway, let me continue on here. So, we've talked about these wonderful release schedule changes. I would love to read some comments from people. We have tons of comments from the Reddit thread here. Point being, I don't have any of them specifically highlighted here. I think we've kind of given them our own due, so I'm going to hang on to that. And Hannah picked this one out for us, so I'm wondering if she had any particular comments that she wanted to run over, but she's gone. So I will hold on to this. But I will read the top comments since it's got the most upvotes. Let's see what it has to say here. So it's quoting the original thing here. It says, is a bunch of graphical reworks more important than a construction rework? And it says, they say here, I really hope players vote in favor of the construction rework. The skill has so much potential, it's a shame to see it stagnating. So, I mean, that comment right there got almost 200 upvotes right there. So that, I think, says something important right there. If it says anything at all, it's that people want to see a construction rework. They know the construction skill is underwhelming in its current state, but it has the potential to be great. And I really, really hope that it scores high on the survey. And I'm hoping by me saying this that it will help you make your decision. And Madby, I know that's why I was kind of hesitant to say RuneFest, is they kind of already announced RuneFest and everything, and tickets are already on sale. So that just didn't seem like, I don't know, unless it's like a special event as part of RuneFest. I would much rather be a cool like summer thing that spans both games. It seems big for them to keep it under wraps. Yeah, I'm hoping it's like a collab, because they didn't do a special effect this year.
Like Zenel's comment, Reddit knows 7 days until Game of Thrones starts up again.
There you go, problem solved. They figured it out. That would that would be really funny.
66 Riot, both bloody all.
I can't even say I'll quit over a comment like that. All right, let's continue. Oh, we have some more data for the Magister, I believe, from this post here. So we'll probably be calling on David's opinions once again here. This post is by Small Monkey, or Mankey, who says, so many people have been posting hate posts lately about the Magister, such as, this boss F is effing terrible, you lose money guaranteed, how could Jagex F up this much, and so forth. Let's look at some of the facts, though, because many people skewed the data in their posts to try and sway opinions. 1. Many people use key prices from prior to the release when calculating profits. Just because you bought keys for 1.5 to 1.8 million prior to the boss release does not mean that those are accurate prices to use when determining the profitability of the boss, as prices have settled. Do you want to say anything in regards to that, David, before I continue on here?
It's true. It's totally true. The poster. Wait, can you?
Mankey?
Are you able to hear me? Or?
I can hear you. Yeah. You're live.
The person, he's absolutely correct. We all bought our keys for way, way, way more because we expected. The problem with people's posts. The part that this person is missing is the argument people are making is less so like having sour grapes about losing a lot of money, because that's fine. It's like we made a bet and it failed. The problem is that the reason we all made a bet that keys would be worth a lot is because we had such high expectations. So that's the part to keep in mind, is like, yes, key prices have crashed and now like the value is a little bit more expected, but someone like Naxtor, who's a good who's on the show often, now something like the Slayer update or the 120 Slayer update in Dungeon is way less good, because the keys, which used to carry your profits, right, they're like 1.5 mil each, are now worth a small fraction of that. So the new Slayer dungeon is way less GP than it used to be, and that's a big thing for people training 120 Slayer. And 2, it's the reason key prices were so high is because there was so much hype surrounding the boss, both in that it would be really fun and a challenge, and also it would have good drops. So that's important to note. There's a reason those prices crash so much, and it is because of the drop table, but the reason they were so high is because we had high expectations that weren't exactly met. So this person is technically, factually, absolutely correct about that. Okay. But I think they're also using accurate statistics to portray a somewhat misleading message. If that
Interesting.
Makes sense.
Okay, let me continue on and let's paint that picture. So it says, you're given current prices, which have settled down a bit. Keys cost about 675k, and the weapons sell for 500 million. Would you say those numbers are accurate now? Keys are roughly 675k at the moment, and the weapons sell for $500 million?
Yeah, that's roughly correct. This person is not lying in terms of the statistics.
All right, cool.
The stats are pretty...
The average weapon takes about 600 kills to make, as stated by a JMod, currently looking for a tweet to confirm the source. Okay, so about 600 kills to make that weapon, but of course RNG is going to heavily weigh in, as mentioned previously by chat. Like, not only are you dealing with those items, but there's multiples of them, so that sucks. And then you have to like farm up multiples of them to create. Am I stating that correctly with the phylacteries or something?
3 blessings. You need 100 scraps per blessing.
Okay.
The blessings are untradeable and useless unless you have all 3 of them.
Like an incomplete spider leg, basically.
Imagine that Araxi has 3 different leg pieces, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine each of those leg pieces dropped in pieces in fragments of 10, and you needed 100 of them in order to make the leg piece.
So I heard you like pieces, so I cut your pieces into pieces so you could have more pieces while you're looking for pieces, basically.
literally the exhibit meme. That is exactly what this is.
Okay,
I
cool.
hadn't even thought about that yet, but I'm glad that you did, because now that's how I'm going to describe it.
Sorry, my mind thinks in memes. That's why I've been elevated to the position that I am on the internet.
Don't worry, mate. I love pizzas. Oh, sorry, pizzas. Sorry.
Don't even get me started on bonds for pizzas. Let me continue on here. This means just over 400 million to make a weapon on average. So that kind of really cuts down on your profit margins, doesn't it? Average loot is about 150k per kill over 600 kills, given the occasional vital sparks of 650k or 1.2 million, and the key crossing drops, which add up to about 100 million per 600 kills. Total loot value is 600 million average per 600 kills. This is a profit of 200 million total. Now, looking at the kills per hour, you can average 30 kills per hour comfortably. This means that 20 kills, 20 total hours for a weapon, or 200 divided by 20 equals 10 million an hour. This overall is not terrible for a lol, oh my god, Slayer boss is so shit, as so many people call the Magister. At current prices, you would have to go over 900 kill count without 300 scraps to lose money. In my personal opinion, the boss could be better in terms of double RNG locked behind phylactery scrap chance and other basic drops, but it isn't terrible as Reddit has made it out to be. And on a plus side, the pet is only 1 in 1,000 with a 200 threshold, so if you decide to just get it, and then it's not too bad. The boss could even be more profit if melee wasn't outclassed at every boss, but that's just an issue for another thread. Just wanted to share my data of over 500 kills I've done in the last week. First edit phylactery drops seem to be about 1 in 15. The data source is compiled from 4,000 kills across friends and myself. Edit 2 is Magister is 30.5 thousand XP per kill, which equates to over 900,000 magic or other XP per hour, which is very good in their opinion. So good XP, that was never debated. Good money has been debated. If you bought your kills basically before this event went live, basically in preparation, so you could farm the boss for the kills, you got royally fucked. Is that basically the easiest way to sum that up?
But I'm not even going to make an argument based on that, just because, they're right that it's unfair to use that data. But here are some things. One, no matter how you slice it, even if you only started buying keys now, there's no way you're going to make as much profit as this boss as you will God Wars Dungeon 2. And in my opinion, something that is significantly more difficult than God Wars Dungeon 2, tier 92 weapons, it's a little disappointing to see that Vindicta outclasses it by far.
I get where you're coming from, as far as, this is a new boss, it has really high requirements, it should have, it should drop something new and shiny as well. I know that I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, but I do worry about value creep, in the sense that does every new boss have to have a new valuable item that's more valuable than its predecessors? When does it stop? Or how do we avoid inflation by constantly releasing items with new bosses that are constantly better and worth more?
Yeah, that's a fair enough point. I do think that because this is going to be one of the tier 92 bosses, the fact that the bosses that drop tier 85 weapons are so much more valuable is a problem. But the secondary issue is, so according to this post, if their math is right, which I think it's pretty good, and you get an average number of kills, that still means that you have to tie up. You have to have 500 mil to just dump into keys before you see any of these profits. Because until you make a weapon, you're at a massive loss. The losses are immensely huge until you finally make a weapon, which means, one, bad RNG means that you are just totally screwed. Two, you have to dump hundreds and hundreds of millions into keys before seeing the possibility of a return. And in my opinion, that just makes this boss totally inaccessible to large parts of the community, because how many folks listening to the show have 500 mil to just tie up on something that may or may not result in profit at the end of it?
My argument for that is simply, why can't people play the game in a more streamlined fashion, in a more linear fashion, where they don't stock up? I mean, there were days when you couldn't stock up when you were a noob. That's my argument there, is fighting the boss a little bit here, a little bit there. I used to fight steel dragons, a little bit here, a little bit there, because of the amount of runes it used to take me to fight them. That's a really old school, comparison, but go ahead.
I can only afford to fight mithril dragons once a week or so, because it was so supply intensive.
Yeah, I mean, that's another issue is being limited. I like the idea of bosses that limit you based off of what supplies you have. I don't necessarily know if it's fair to compare someone who can save up a bunch of materials before doing an event versus someone who can't. So I think there's a subset of the community that just can't do that, and that to me is just part of the MMO grind of just like, I can fight this boss 3 times and then I have to go do a bunch of shit before I can afford to fight this boss again. And I'm okay with that, and that just comes from my grindy nature of an MMO. I like Jam and Jake's comment here, who says, that's a really good point in regards to my comment about value creep. Not every boss needs to have a new item. I love a boss with some fun mechanics today that's decently profitable but didn't need something super special as a drop. Like, the Magister could have been just like straight, like a value-added boss, but they went for the whole, it's got to have a special item. That's my argument, is does every boss need to have a special item, or could this boss have just been a moneymaker? Where they went with a key system, so obviously, when you're going with the key style system, your goal is not immediate money-making, your goal is long-term money-making, and a lot of people are just not into that. I get that. And again, if you don't have the resources, go ahead, I'll let you get in here for a bit.
It's assuming best case scenario, you're still profiting less than God Wars Dungeon 2.
Yeah.
For more effort, more support, probably a more difficult fight, although a much more boring one, if that makes sense. Like Vindicta and Hellway has a lot of really cool, interesting mechanics. There's like, I mean,
well, that might be a trade-off for someone. Someone might trade and say, well, I'm going to do the Magister because I don't have to be involved. I know I'll make more money at God Wars 2, but I'd actually rather it be less intense, and I'm willing to make less profit because I know I'm not going to have as difficult as a fight as if I were to go to Hellware.
Well, but I was saying, I think it's a more difficult fight. It just, the mechanics can be skipped if your DPS is high enough.
Yeah, and if you're AFKing, you probably won't be able to skip those mechanics, right?
Absolutely not. Yeah, AFKing, you would get wrecked.
The Magister, from a third party, as someone who doesn't do combat and somebody who used to do a lot of combat, and I have to say that the Magister sounds to me as though it was not meant to be a farmed boss. It was meant more as a break in between slaying, as you're basically slaying in this dungeon, and every now and again you're going to get a key, and then you use that key, and if you were lucky, and over your course of 99 to 120 Slayer, you may have built the weapon, which then you made yourself a nice little chunk of profit. Now, of course, this is RuneScape we're dealing with here, and that is no way how people are going to play the game.
Exactly.
But I feel like that's how it was developed, and that's what it was intended for. Go ahead.
Agreeing with you. I think that was absolutely the intention. I don't think that's how people play. And then the secondary thing is this boss is not. No one thinks that this is a quote unquote bad update. It's not a bad boss. It's not bad money. It's more that it had so much hype. It was delayed 3 separate times. It was billed as the new Tier 92 boss, this big, really fun thing or whatever. So it's more just it's not a bad update. It's just a disappointing one.
Fair enough.
Kind of
I would say 2017 has just been a disappointing year, unfortunately. It's not a bad year. It's just a letdown. I'm not here... I'm not going to rant and rave about the updates this year. They have not been horrible. They've just not been great. And Menafos, again, not a bad update. Just it's not for me, and it's not for a lot of people that I hang out with, and that's okay. But there was supposed to be a lot of other content as well. Anyway, Nax, you're saying I need to test out my Nihil capability at God Wars 2 since I unlocked them yesterday. Congratulations, Nihils are awesome.
Yeah, totally. Best familiars overall, and for sure for high level stuff.
So we have here another post keeping on the PVM topics here that is in regards to drop rates on things. This is by Hazelmere0, who says, PSA, Timbo thinks it's fun for people to not know drop rates. And it says here, I finally got inspired to make this post when I stumbled upon an excellent thread by Base Tank called Needed Changes for RuneScape, in which the following was suggested. He responded to the suggestions and mentioned that Shawnee kindly responded to the suggestions and mentioned that he spoke to Timbo about this and the mystery and fun of not knowing information from us. Release drop rates properly. A huge investment of time deserves the correct knowledge of what we are putting ourselves through. kindly responded to the suggestions and mentioned that Shawnee kindly responded to the suggestions and mentioned that he spoke to Timbo about this and the mystery and fun of not knowing what the drop rates and knowing doesn't change the frequency of getting them. The whole community seems to disagree with this notion, and demonstrably a great source of debate and frustration has historically been the uncertainty of drop rates. The point made in the original thread is a notable one. We need to know what we are putting ourselves through, then attempting to get what we want. It's immoral to withhold information that makes the difference between choosing to take the risk of spending 500 plus hours on something, for example, a skilling pet, or deciding to use that time on something better. It's not fun, it's not mysterious, it's frustrating and annoying. Skilling pets. Especially the skilling pets have been questionable in terms of RNG, as they can take hundreds of hours to get, and so many people have already gone dry even past 200 million. All without knowing whether it's the norm or if they're just out of luck. If you've gone past 200 million, I think it's fair to say it's just bad luck, though. Can we editorial that in there?
Also, I agree with the sentiment here. I'm not sure I would call it immoral. Like maybe reserve.
Yeah.
If you're gonna call something immoral, like maybe save that word for other things. But...
Yeah. No. I'll tell you what's something immoral in RuneScape is allowing children under the ages of like 18 to 16 to gamble with actual money. That's immoral. You want to get on an actual, like, something that's actually immoral in RuneScape. Let's talk about that. But let's not actually talk about that. Let's continue on here. Accounting for the double XP rates, I got this table of approximate XP required on average per skilling pet. It does not account for the extra XP that is gained from activities that do not chance of giving skilling pet, nor bonus XP or other boosts. This means that the more XP people got without an additional pet chance, the lower the correct XP required on average would be. For example, if a significant amount of bonus XP was used over the double XP weekend in that skill, the correct base XP required on average would be lower than what is written in the spreadsheet. The more XP people got with thresholds, the higher what written in the spreadsheet. The higher the correct XP required on average would be. Sorry, they use a lot of parentheses, and I try to skip over useless parentheses information. Blah, 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 blah. Although, if you look at how skill levels affect the base chance on old school RuneScape, you'll notice that the level, in fact, does not change that much at all, at least for levels 1 to 99. It's almost like they're based off of the same game. What a fucking concept. However, I believe bonus XP users are in the minority, but some easy-to-access XP boosts, such as portables, could be accounted for further. As an example, dividing the XP by pet for Ereblor by 1-to-1 yields 465 million to 1-to-1 equals 33.1.5 million. I'm not going to lie, I don't really know what that means. This method gives I don't
know. What are they talking about?
I don't honestly know. I'm going to let them continue on here, and hopefully... I think they're trying to tell you what your odds are here, but I'm sorry. My math is not on par with what they're trying to do here. This method gives a fairly accurate estimate that is just a bit higher than the correct number would be. One thing to note is that gathering and support skills have a chance to get skilling pets per action instead of per XP, so these numbers only hold true for those if you do what the average player did for double XP weekend in autumn 2016. Looking at the numbers, you see that Bernie would take 80 million XP on average to get. Many people who are already 120 or 200 million will use maple logs to get Bernie as the chance for action instead of XP, and they're cheap logs. Logs on average yielding about 334 XP per log, it would take about 80 million XP, or 239,529 logs on average, and that's just a best case scenario. Going with that number anyway, it would take 200 hours on average, doing 1,200 logs an hour, and more than 15% of the player base will be looking at 375 plus hours, just for a pet. I don't even want to know what's happening over there at Hunter. Do you people use protean traps so much? If you crave for more information on these pets, I don't. So we'll move along here. So that's the longest rant I've ever seen on skilling pet RNG that was written without the author losing their fucking mind halfway through and talking about something completely different. So kudos to you for that, I suppose. But everything else, I honestly don't agree with, and I honestly don't care. It's really none of our business what the actual drop rates are. It's part of the game. It's part of the environment. We don't set them. We don't need to know them. The only time that I am an advocate for revealing drop rates are when cash is involved. I think China's got the right idea, forcing game companies to reveal their averages on loot box drops. I think that is information people should know when you're investing actual cash, what your likelihood of receiving an item is. But in-game, I don't think Jagex owes you anything whatsoever about telling you what the actual drop rates are on things. Rune Metrics is good enough. Good.
I would agree. I don't think they owe us it or anything. It's their game. They
can tell us if they want, but...
I'll say that, I think that I personally don't think that the mystery of a drop for I don't think that really adds that much excitement to me. It's I guess
it adds frustration on occasion.
I'm kind of a statistics person. I like numbers. I like charts.
Oh, me too.
I like back in the day when Chris L would be like, yeah, it's gonna drop this. It's gonna be Vitalis is gonna be 1 in 5,000 or whatever. I think it's cool to know.
Yeah, it's fun.
The exact drop rates of things.
I like the random luck of the draw.
I love statistics. Anyone who's listened to the show probably knows that I have a love for statistics. I always have. I just think that it should be really up to they should not have. It's not a moral issue here. It's not a right.
Yeah,
it's whether or not they want to, and if they want to, that's fine, and if they don't, that's also fine. That's all. That's all I have to say.
That makes a difference for what I'm going to do. So, for example, if I knew that what the drop rate was for boss A and boss B has a way more common drop that's worth a little bit less, and boss B is a way rarer drop that's worth a lot more, and I knew kind of exactly what it was so I could calculate how long it would take me, then if I can only play, say, 5 hours a week, then I'm much more likely to do one than the other. But if I could play 30 hours a week, I'm much more likely to do the second one. So it's in terms of planning out what you're going to be doing, I think it'd be really, really nice, especially for people who are time pressed and want to know how long it will be, roughly. Obviously, you could go dry, you could get lucky, but having a rough guess of how long something's going to take you is kind of nice. Things like Hazelmere's Signet Ring, I'm okay with it being a total mystery. It's kind of a fun, random thing. But
I think there's now 14 rings in game now.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know. I think for people who are time pressed, having more clarity on drops would allow them to plan things out a lot more easily.
I don't disagree with that. I think it's totally fine if they want to release that information. I just don't think they have the obligation to do so. And that's all. I will continue along here. Unless you have anything else you want to talk about on drop chances.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. So
I just remember the guy's ranting about Mod Timbo too, so you can't really rant about Mod Timbo because he'll remove a tree, so just be careful.
It's already happened, yeah. Every single Reddit post that is a negative thread for Mod Timbo, a tree dies. It's a fact.
I think they're going to remove some trees and bring in a cactus patch over in Menopause, I believe.
Nice, that'll be fun. So anyway, speaking of cactuses, they relate to the weather, sort of, right? Well, our next topic here is pretty simple. Are we still getting the weather system in 2017? Asks Cinderquill. And the answer is simply no. Jagex responded, Kelpie specifically responded and said, unfortunately not at this time, but it is still a possibility for the future. In order to do it justice, we really need NXT engine support for it. Right now, that team has higher priority tasks. I think we all want it to be able to do it in the future, but not right now. Nobody is working on it, nor it is likely to be worked on in the future.
Wasn't this the top-rated thing for last year?
It was the top-rated thing for last year. So, I mean, I'm just going to be incendiary here. This one's for you, Elite. But if they truly care about their players, why would they scrap the #1 requested update for the year? I'm completely be incendiary right there.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
I didn't vote for it. I thought that it was a really, really, really cool idea.
Completely unnecessary. I love it.
If you think about it, you can change the weather system in a sense. Just use Shawnee's skyboxes and just go to different areas where you wouldn't go to.
It's true.
I would use the midday skybox over there in Canopus. So instead of it being dark and gloomy, it's sunshine over there now.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I legit do occasionally. Is I'll be like, I'll look outside and I'll be like, oh, it's early morning. Let me change the game light to early morning. I do that. That actually helps me immerse. So
I like the
agree.
fact that you can still smuggle. I like the fact you can still smuggle the skyboxes, say into clan citadels or below.
My problem
areas.
though is in 2017, this game doesn't have a weather system. Like MMOs have always had weather systems, and I could do you a weather system right, everyone. I can. I promise I could make you the most realistic weather system ever without annoying people. Without it being like annoying for weather to happen. I swear I could write a document that would make weather fun, a fun distraction and diversion. You wouldn't be pissed off when it was raining or thundering or snowing. It would not affect the gameplay unless you wanted it to. Like, I feel like it's time for me to start writing design documents, and I don't want to because I don't like writing. That's not true. I love writing, but I don't know. It's cutting into my.
I thought they did a good job on the Void Knight outpost.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Now just dynamically do that everywhere and have the environment change based off of it. Simple, right? Okay, maybe not. I mean, NXT, obviously, I think the big thing, we will probably see weather happen when the Java client has been completely scrapped. I think that's fair. As much as I'm sad and salty about the fact that we're not getting the weather system this year, it is completely reasonable for them to say that they want full NXT engine support for it. And I understand that, and it will be better for it when it actually comes out, that we won't be limited by what Java can do. So fair enough. I will definitely bring it up again when we scrap Java completely. I'll be like, all right, let's start working on that weather system y'all promised like 10 years ago. Because that's a joke as far as how long NXT is going to take to be finished. But whatever. There's always someone who will be pissed off. That is correct, Sarah. Always. All right, we got one final topic for today. A feel-good story. And then we're going to close it down. I'm glad we had the opportunity to pull you in, David, and talk about the Magister. Good stuff. Right here we have a topic about RuneScape and what it's done for this individual. It's by Scott RS. Excuse me. And it simply says, I'm dyslexic. Someone showed me RuneScape at the start of high school because I was in a special class because I had learning difficulties. I went home that day, so excited to play, but because of my spelling, I could not find it for weeks after. Every day after school, I would look for it for hours, till one day I found it. I was so happy I played for hours. Till one day, my computer broke. I'll admit, I cried a little. More than a little, but that doesn't matter. My mom had a laptop that she left when my parents broke up that my dad said I could use as long as I was good. He never bought me membership because he had 2 kids to bring up on his own and was in debt from when my mom left, but that was fine with me. A few years passed, and as I got older, my mom came back into my life out of nowhere. She tried to make up for leaving me so young and saw me playing, and saw how much fun I was having, so she bought me membership. From the day on, I never went back to free-to-play. One day, she pulled me into school because of the way I was, and was told that they had done some tests on me and that I was dyslexic. She broke down after that and left again, and my dad turned abusive towards me. This is getting dark. If it wasn't for what an amazing team at Jagex, I would have been lost. RuneScape was my escape from the real world. Now, at 22, I feel RuneScape has taught me more than what school ever did. It's not just a game to me anymore. This is my life. I suffer from anxiety and depression. I don't want to go to school much. I don't want to go into much detail, but you guys saved my life. I have a wonderful girlfriend and a beautiful daughter. I used to live near Manchester, but my girlfriend is originally from Cambridge, so we moved up here because I have no family, and hers lives up here. She knows how much this game means to me. We've been together coming up on 4 years now, and I've gotten her into playing it. She suffers from depression as well, so once we've put our daughter to bed, we look at each other, and without even saying anything, we both know it's time to play. We play for hours because she has sleep troubles, so we do all-nighters all the time without even knowing. We've been playing for about 5 months now, and it's brought us closer. We've been having problems with family members, but we've always been there for each other. Now, my escape from the real world is also hers as well. I'd just like to thank you all at Jagex for giving me and my girlfriend something to help us escape. You're all doing an amazing job. Hopefully one day we'll be able to visit Jagex HQ. My childhood dreams would finally be complete, and hopefully in a couple of years, we will be able to afford to come to RuneFest as well, and meet everyone who helps make this game what it is today. Thank you.
I think we should read who thank you was. Thank you, Troll City, for the edit.
That was beautiful.
It kind of sounds like that couple that met in RuneScape at the Pyramid Plunder, which is mentioned on the 15th year anniversary of RuneScape. It kind of sounds like that in a way, doesn't it?
Well, it's a little bit. It's definitely got some redeeming elements to it. RuneScape really, it's a recurring element that we see quite often in the RuneScape sphere is people who have been abused or are struggling with some sort of illness, and RuneScape is an amazing outlet. It's an amazing place where you can kind of get away from the pain and suffering of real life, and I think that's a very good reason to, just keep tribute. You give tribute to Jagex, despite all that's happened and all of the negativity that we've kind of sprouted on the show today. We've talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of, basically we poked a lot of fun at Jagex, but without Jagex, there would be no RuneScape. And without RuneScape, this person may not be alive right now.
There'd be no RuneScape Weekly either.
Yeah, there'd be no RuneScape Weekly for sure. We'd all be listening to Black Desert Weekly, and who wants that? But
it's a beautiful story for sure.
Yeah.
I think this is part of the reason why it's amazing that a game can leave people so elated and so disappointed. I think the reason why we get
so passionate
disappointed by things is because of how much we care about the game.
Yeah.
It's not coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of love. All the disappointing.
Absolutely.
Feelings
and I think Jagex understands that. Like, otherwise they wouldn't be contacting us. They wouldn't be opening dialogues. They wouldn't be coming on the show. They wouldn't be hanging out in Discord and stuff like that. Like, they know that when we shit on them, we do it with love. Because, Jagex is not a person. It is an entity. It is not it is a non-living entity. It doesn't have feelings. It's made up of individuals. But, when you're attacking a company, you are not attacking the individuals. You are merely attacking the company that they represent. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, because it helps them become stronger and better. If this show was just every week, yep, this is great, love it, oh, that's great, love that, and that was the end of that, nothing would ever change, nothing would ever get done, and honestly, this show would probably be boring as crap to listen to. RuneScape does serve. Yeah, RuneScape certainly does serve as an escape for a lot of players. Indeed, yes. I've had my fair share of escapism in RuneScape for sure. RuneScape has helped me through a lot of tough times in my life. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So RuneScape's a great tool for that, and it's obviously we hold it dear to our hearts, or we wouldn't be sitting here podcasting about it. When we shit on them, we do it out of love. Magebit being romantic.
Imagine the roses.
Here at RuneScape Weekly, we will always bring you shit-covered roses. On that note, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of RuneScape Weekly. This is actually last week's RuneScape Weekly, so we should be returning to our normal schedule on Friday this week, so more RuneScape Weekly. And something that I did not mention in the pre-show or the beginning or anything, I will be live on Wednesday. This is going to be a reoccurring thing if you are into it, for the Magebit Mega Show. It's a variety show. It should be about 3 hours long, 3 different games, an hour for each game. That varies depending on what games we're playing, and you, the audience, get to control what we play. So if you want to stop by, the recording begins at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday. Magebit on Twitch. That's where it's going to be. Twitch.tv/Magebit. That's where we're going to be doing it solely. It will be pushed over to YouTube in a VOD after the fact to Geekcore Gaming, but the live feed will take place right here. So this channel is going to have 2 shows on it now. So if you enjoy what we do and you want to see games that are not just RuneScape, make sure you're following us on Twitch, and you'll be able to pick and choose. You can join us when we're doing the non-RuneScape stuff, or you can choose not to. All you gotta do is make sure you're following us. Anyway, that is gonna be it for this episode of RuneScape Weekly. Hope to see you on Wednesday and again on Friday. But until then, you can find us on social media. We got a Facebook page for you, facebook.com/RSWeekly. Got a Twitter for you as well, @RSWeekly. Don't forget to, of course, join us in game. We got a clan chat for you. Kill Skill, the letter N, chill. Kill Skill and chill is our in-game clan chat. Got a Discord for you as well. Discord.runeweek.com is the Discord invite link. It's going to get you into our Discord, where we are always hanging out 24/7. There's generally people to talk to, including myself. Easiest way to get in contact with the show for sure. So again, that is discord.runeweek.com. And if you want, you can also engage us on social media. Of course, facebook.com/rsweekly, @rsweekly, all that fun stuff. And of course, if you want to help us out, we got a Patreon page for you, patreon.com/runescape. Got a PayPal for you as well, paypal.me/rsw. Got a shop available for you as well, shop.runeweek.com. Use your Magebucks there if you have them. You can get perks, or you can save those Magebucks. They're going to be coming back into play come... maybe not this Wednesday, but coming on Wednesdays soon. So Magebucks will be reopening and have more uses, thanks to the Magebit Mega Show. And if you want to help us out, we got an upgrades page, upgrades.runeweek.com. I generally don't say this, but now is actually maybe not the best time to be buying us upgrades. I'm going to be buying a lot of upgrades soon. So if you had any thoughts on upgrading us, hang on, I'll hold off on them, because I'm going to do some major upgrades, and then I'll retweak my upgrades list probably in a few weeks, once I've had a chance to order all those upgrades. So we'll see what happens. Yada yada yada. Anyway, big special thanks to our top Patreon supporters, including Keski, Swagatorix, Alex W, Danny H, Kevin H, Olgunner, Hamstring, Sudwood, Godly Fury, and Tyler. Thank you so much for your ongoing patronage. It means the world to me to be able to produce the show on a regular basis, when we wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for Patreon. Our top patrons, all of our patrons, $1 patrons, $1 million patrons, live listeners who listen after the fact. Everyone, you're important. Thank you so much for listening to the show and supporting us, because we wouldn't be able to do a show if we didn't have an audience. So that's going to do it for this episode of RuneScape Weekly. Check us out on Wednesday if you want non-RuneScape content. Check us out on Friday if you want the regular RuneScape content. That's going to do it for now. As always, happy scaping.